this amazing speaker out. This is the first time we're actually doing this event. I know it's going to be amazing. This is something we definitely want to do over again. So if you guys can help me welcome Katie.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, both of you. I really appreciate doing this because of the fact that fitness isn't just our body, it's our mind too. So we're going to talk a lot about how both of those are connected and how really you can't have whole health and that real fitness level without incorporating your mindset. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Catherine Townsend, but I go by Katie. But if you're looking to find me on Facebook or Instagram, it's Catherine Townsend. And I am a social worker, ex-therapist turned mindset coach. And I help women, right now primarily women, but I've worked with men too in the past as a therapist, overcome the limiting mindsets that hold them back from really thriving in their lives and reaching their full potential. And I have noticed, as someone who is very involved in the fitness community as well and has worked as a fitness coach in the past, how interconnected both of those things are. And so when Lindsay asked me to come and do this, I was like, we're calling this mental fitness boot camp, because really what's happening here is if you're struggling to meet goals, whether it's in your business, in your relationships, in fitness, it all starts with your mindset. It all starts with your beliefs and your thoughts. And so we're going to talk a lot about how to overcome some of those blocks that are preventing us from meeting our goals today, so that we can really start thriving and showing up as the men and women that we want to be in our lives, and really feel good about how we're doing that, right? So let's talk about mental fitness. What is it? Mental fitness is the ability to regulate your emotional and mental state, right? So think about how many times you have a thought and you run with it, right? And you know damn well when you're doing it that you probably shouldn't do that thing, but you run with the thought and you feed into it and you don't know how to discipline your mind. Mental fitness is the ability to regulate your thoughts so that you can feel how you want to feel, so that you can show up as the person that you want to show up as, so that you can make decisions that are in your best interest instead of doing things that you feel crappy about later on. Like, think about simply, I know for me, like little stuff like, oh, I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to do this thing, right? I have this one thing that I'm going to do. And then I wake up at 5 in the morning and I'm laying in bed and I'm like, ooh, I just want to hit that snooze button a little bit longer, right? And that thought that I don't discipline my mind in, and I choose to just act on impulse and do that thing, that one thought that leads me to hit the snooze button. So mental fitness is really being able to say, no, what I really want here is to do the thing that I have set myself up for. I want to keep that promise to myself, and I want to follow through, because I can see the end goal is that I'm going to feel better if I do the thing I said I was going to do. So I'm not going to follow through on this impulsive thought and feeling right now, and I'm going to train my mind to sit the F down and listen to me and do the thing that maybe is uncomfortable or I don't want to do, right? So mental fitness is being able to choose your thoughts and regulate your emotions so that you can make decisions that are in your best interest. Everybody on the same page with me right now? You guys following?
Can we get a thumbs up?
Let me see some thumbs up in here.
Guys, sorry, really quick, on my live too, at the end, we're going to go through Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to put them in the chat and she will be able to answer them at the end of her training.
Yeah, and I really like this to be interactive too. So if something comes up as I'm talking and you have some type of feedback or you do have a question on here, if it's relevant and I can kind of like divert for a second, I will answer it, but we'll have a very big Q&A at the end. But I do want it to be interactive and beneficial for you guys, and we get that by engaging and having a conversation. So let's go ahead and kind of go over what we're going to talk about today. So we understand what mental fitness is, right? So we're going to talk about how to build the resilient mindset, how to change our perspective around stress and struggle and turn it into strength, and then how to retrain our brain to think differently in certain situations so that we can be the person that we want to be in the future. All right. So let's talk about the first one, which is building a resilient mindset. So in the comments on Facebook or in here, I want to hear what your definition of resilience is, and I'm going to give you what mine is. So the definition of resilience to me is the ability to accept, adapt, and overcome quickly. So what I mean by that is resilience means not that I don't experience difficulties. It means that I trust myself enough to face things, go through them, and know that I can overcome them no matter what, that everything is figure outable and that I can problem solve even in the hardest situations. It's trusting myself. It's the resilience. It's showing up even when things are scary, right? Even when sucks, right? Like just showing up and allowing myself to be strong or even be vulnerable or express my feelings and know that whatever happens in certain situations, that I can get through it no matter what, that I can trust myself. So how do we start to build this resilient mindset? Well, first of all, we needed to look backward, right? So think about how far you've come in your life. Right now, all of us have a 100% success rate of overcoming even the things that we thought we never could make it through. And when we're able to sit in a place where things are uncertain, or we're about to go into a new venture, or we're trying to achieve new goals, and we're scared that we might fail, or we're scared that we might not make it through, we can look back on our life and say, wait a minute, has there been times in the past where I didn't think I was going to be able to overcome something, but I did? Maybe it sucked for a little bit, but I made it through that. I made it through it. And so I can trust myself to do that again. And when I'm able to shift into that place, I now feel empowered to face fears, to try new things, to look at some of the goals I've set for myself and say, hey, maybe I am strong enough to start taking action and following through with that. Maybe I can say no. Maybe I can choose better in my relationships. Maybe I can leave this job and start a new one, right? And know that I can make it through whatever tests or obstacles show up in my path before that. Or I can sit in the uncomfortable feelings and make it through those too. Because a lot of the times what we're trying to avoid when we get in this place of feeling stuck, because feeling stuck is a mindset. Feeling stuck is fear, right? When I get in that place, what's really happening is that I'm trying to avoid an uncomfortable feeling. I'm trying to avoid the feeling of maybe loneliness or rejection or financial insecurity, feeling lack, not feeling secure, right? Insecurity is a big one. And so when I shift into the place where I can see that I am strong and capable and I can make it through anything because I already have made it through everything, that I don't need to be afraid, and that I can face challenges with strength and with power and resilience, and know that I can adapt and overcome quickly because I've done it before. And sometimes quickly might not be as quick as we want it to be, but we're still able to do it. And so shifting into a resilient mindset first starts with being able to recognize how strong and powerful I have already been throughout my entire life. That's number one. Number two, resilience. Reframing failure. All right. So a lot of the times from working with women and my own experience with perfectionism is that I fear failure, right? Because failure means that maybe I am, and we're going deeper level here, is that maybe in some way I'm not enough, or I don't measure up. And so we get in this place where we don't try new things. We don't face our fears. We don't go after what we want because we fear that we might not be able to do it. We fear that we're going to fail. And in that failure, there's our own criticism and judgment that occurs, and the fear of criticism and judgment from other people. So coming out of that place and recognizing that failure isn't really a bad thing. Failure is actually necessary. I want you guys to hear that again. Failure is necessary. Failure is the predecessor for success. If you look at some of the most famous people who have been successful in their life. And let's take dollar signs out of success. Okay? Let's take the dollar sign out of success, but just have achieved what they set their mind to. Can you mute her? That have achieved goals, set them, and done it. Showed up as the person that they were meant to be in this world. That success was preceded with failures. Michael Jordan, right? We hear this story all the time. How many times did he fail before he really became the famous person that he is today for being like the best? And I'm not a sports person, guys, but I've heard the story, right? So being the best basketball player in history, you know, he failed multiple times over, right? Then we have like J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author, who lived in her car for years, right? And we could go on and on and on. Every single famous person, if you do the research, has experienced tremendous amounts of failure prior to achieving the greatest success that they could ever imagine. The people who stay in a place where their mindset keeps them stuck because they're scared of fear, because fear equals bad in their mind, fear equals not enough, fear equals unworthy, they stay stuck in a place of mediocrity. And I can tell you what, each of you are not on this call right now. You are not in this meeting right now because you want to settle for mediocrity. You're here because you want to level up your mindset, your life, your physical state to a place where you can achieve your highest potential. Because, you know, in that place, you're going to feel satisfied and fulfilled and probably help somebody else. Because I know a lot of, you know, my own belief is that we rise by lifting others. And you guys have that on the wall right Absolutely. There, you know. And so we have this purpose, right? We have to fulfill our purpose in life. And if we don't, then we suffer because intrinsically inside, we know that we're not living up to our fullest potential. And that hurts. That sucks. I'll disclose and be very vulnerable and honest and courageous on here right now because my mindset around those things is that that's the greatest act of bravery, is that I was in active addiction for, half of my life. I was addicted to heroin until I was 24 years old. I know what rock bottom feels like. I know what suffering feels like when you're in a place where you know you could be doing better, where you know you're not living up to your fullest potential. And I remember sitting in a jail cell thinking, what the hell am I doing with my life? I know that I could be doing more than this. I feel a calling on my life. But I was scared. I was scared of connection with other people. I was scared of failure. I was scared of feeling feelings. And that kept me in a place where I numbed and I hid and I distracted with drugs and alcohol. And when I finally overcame that first obstacle in my life, my struggle, which is actually my greatest strength, it brought me to so many other places that I was able to really see who I was. I was able to walk through fear and see what I was truly capable of and see what my strength was. And start to use that strength to build new strengths, to reach higher levels, but then help other people. And as I helped other people, I learned more about who I was. And I worked more through more of those fears. And I got vulnerable and I experienced connection. And I start to discover new things about myself. And when I would hit plateaus and I would get complacent, because complacency is the enemy. When I would get complacent in my life, I would experience suffering. And I would wonder, why do I feel uncomfortable right now? What's wrong here? What's going on? And it was because I was complacent in the job, complacent in the relationship, scared to move on because of the uncertainty, the fear of failure, perceived failure, right? Because my mindset around failure, around uncertainty was effed up, for lack of a better term. And when I finally shifted and said, the uncertainty is the place I need to live in, that complacency is the place where I suffer, the uncertainty is the place where I grow, So I need to step out of these places where I feel comfortable, because you don't grow in your comfort zone. You grow when you put yourself in situations where you might fail. And let me take this for my fitness people here. So think about when you're building strength, right? Raise your hand in the comments here or on Zoom and tell me who here are my bodybuilders. Where you at, right? Who's my people who lift, all right? So when you are building muscle in your body, in order to do that, you have to get to muscle failure, right? Let me see the hands. Muscle failure is when you literally can't do another rep. Like the weights fall out of your hand, or like you fall over, and that's when you know you've hit a place where you just push past the limit and you're building strength. It's the same thing with your mind. It's in those times where I feel like, how am I going to get through this? I can't imagine shifting into that place. It's too scary, right? It's in those places that you're doing the mental lifting. It's in those places that you push past the limits and you build the mental strength. And then you do it again. And you get stronger and you get stronger and you get stronger until you're living a life that you never thought was possible for yourself. Until you're building a business that you never thought was possible. Until you have relationships that you never knew were available. And that's what happens when we shift our mindset around the fear of failure, around fear in general. And we have to recognize that fear is the thing that is, when you feel scared, it's probably pushing you in a good direction. Unless there's like a bear or some shit, like don't go towards the bear, okay? Like we don't want to go towards the bear. But you know what I'm saying? Like our brains experience anxiety and fear in very neutral situations. It's just when it's something new. So shift into the new, shift into the new. And the fear and the looking back to see your strength is two ways that you can start building that resilient mindset. And the next one is being in a place where you challenge yourself daily, right? With little things. You challenge yourself daily. So how do you do that? You do things that are uncomfortable every single day. And a great way to do that is with exercise. And this is where the mind-body connection comes in, is building that resilient mindset. Because I don't know about you, Lindsay, but like think about like when you are when you're doing a workout and you're in the rep and you're like, holy crap, I can't do one more. And then you're like, no, you're not going to give up. And that mental talk kicks in, right?
Right. So let me ask you a quick question, right? So for many of us that happens, right? And then that mind's quick to shut off, like literally like physical
Yes.
pain and I can't take no more. What would you recommend, or what would you say to push through that?
So when are you talking about, just in general or during that time?
I mean, in general, right? But let's say literally during a workout where you hit that, where you can't physically, you feel like you physically cannot go anymore. Let's say directly towards the workout, but after that, then yes, absolutely, in general, anything in life.
Okay, so you have to connect with the voice in your head that works for you. For me, I say things to myself like this, and this is where affirmations come in, and that's kind of in the bottom part of this talk, but we're going to shift there right now because that's where we're going. Affirmations and incantations. And affirmations are not standing in front of the mirror saying, I'm special. Like, yes, that is an affirmation, but no, we can make these work for us in the voice that works in our head. For me, I'm kind of rough on myself, right? Like, I'll be in the workout, and I'm about to cuss again right now. I'll be in the workout, and I'll be like, bitch, if you can't do another rep right now, how the fuck are you going to meet these goals? Right? And I get real crazy with myself, and I'm like, how are you going to make a mill if you can't do 2 more reps? Right? And I start coaching myself inside of my head, and I start speaking to myself in the voice that I'm responsive to, right? And that is where you guys have to go. For me, that's what works for me. And I had to try a few things to get there, right? When I was going through a breakup of a relationship that I was in for 4 years, and I knew I had to leave this person, right? I knew I had to leave this person. And this is where exercise is so important in your mental fitness. And I would be on the Versa. The Versa is like where you're climbing. So you're moving your legs and your feet, right? And I was like, if I can't do 5 more minutes on this Versa, there's no way I'm going to face this uncomfortable situation and get out of this relationship I don't want to be in. And I was like, if you don't make it on this Versa, you're never going to break up with her. And I would go to these places where I attached my goal to something that really mattered to me, right? Like something that was super important to me at that time. And these things change as time goes on. But you kind of have to attach your effort in the workout to your effort in life, and say, if I can't do this, then I'm not going to be able to do this, because that is the correlation, right? And I'll show you guys how this works too with like habits. So I told you I was in recovery. I quit using heroin, which is pretty hard to do. I don't know if anybody else is in recovery, but once you become addicted to something, well, here, let me frame this in a way for people who might not be in recovery. If you've ever tried to stop eating sugar, let me know how that works out for you, right? That is hard. That is hard to do. Well, it's really hard to quit heroin too, right? So when I got sober, and I was still smoking cigarettes, right? Terrible habit. If you smoke, it's bad. All right. I'm not even going to apologize for what I'm saying. If you smoke cigarettes, it's going to kill you eventually. And I realized that. And I was like, hey, I love myself today. I don't want to slowly kill myself with tobacco. So I was like, I need to stop. Right? Did you say?
Amen.
I'm not trying to offend anybody, but this was my mindset again. This is what I mean by attaching it to something that matters to you, right? And mine was derivative of guilt, because I didn't want my daughter to get third-hand smoke and all this stuff, because I saw other kids that were sick, right? So that was like where it stemmed from. So guilt can be healthy in a way. And so I said to myself, I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes. And I attached the cigarettes to the same what's the word, the same amount of passion that I had for quitting drugs. And I said, if I smoke a cigarette, then what's to say I won't relapse on heroin? If I can't commit to this and see it through, then I will probably use heroin again. And I really didn't want to use heroin again. I didn't really I wanted to quit smoking, like I knew, but I wasn't as committed to that. But I said, if I don't follow through with this, then it'll lead to that, to something that was super duper important to me. And that was my why, right? That was like when they talk about whys and all these motivational videos and everything, you have to figure out what resonates with you in your heart and soul. And in that, it was like, if I smoke cigarettes, I'm going to get high. And so that helped me not smoke cigarettes. And I've done this with a lot of other things in my life, just like I was talking about with the workouts. Like, if I don't finish this workout, I'm not going to meet my goals that I have for financial freedom and having my flexibility with my time and having those things that really matter to me, those whys that I've created in my life today that push me towards my goals. So you kind of just have to figure out how to attach these things in the way that work for you and build like this little web of wellness, like mental fitness and wellness that attaches to all of your whys. Did that make sense?
Made perfect sense.
All right.
I got it. Did
Perfect.
everybody get that?
Yeah, give me a thumbs up if that made sense.
Yes?
Bruno says yes. Thanks, Bruno. All right, so any other questions while we're doing this? We need okay. All right. So it's just other people just dropping comments in there.
Yeah.
So let's move into turning struggle into strength, right? Turning stress, reframing the way that we view stress and adversity.
Yes.
So when we think about a stress response, right? Does anybody know what happens in your body when you get stressed out? Like, think about what happens to you physically when you get stressed. What do you think, Linz? What happens to you when you get stressed out?
I get ill. Physically sick.
You get physically weak, right? You get weak, you get ill. Think about like when you have anxious. Think about when you're anxious. What happens in your body?
Tense.
Tense. Mm-hmm. My armpits are sweating right now. A little anxious. Look at that. We're all a little hyped, right? So like the stomach, the sweat, the tense, all of these things. The same response, the same physiological response that you have to anxiety and fear is the same physiological response that you have to excitement, right? And so like I said in the beginning of this talk, everything begins with a thought, right? And the sensations that we have in our bodies occur first, but it's our thoughts that label them. So if I'm in a situation like before going, and I've done a lot of speaking arrangements, and I've worked as a therapist for a long time. And I used to run groups with like 30 or 40, like 18 to 25-year-old people who are trying to get sober, and half of them don't want to be there. And it was like, I remember my first day walking into that group, and they're like, they were not trying to listen. And I'm like, you know, like there's like a feeling, like they say that death and public speaking are like the two greatest fears or something. So here I am like walking into that group, and I had to tell myself, I'm not anxious, I'm excited.
So it's shift the mind.
Yes,
the mindset.
you shift the mindset. You shift the label that you give to the sensation in the body. So you don't lose motivation, because guess what happens? Here's the two things that happen here's two examples of what can happen for each opposing situation. I go into this, let's say I come into this, right? And I'm feeling that sensation in the body of like my armpits are sweaty, and my stomach's kind of tense, and I'm like, oh, I got the jitters a little bit, right? Now I could tell myself, holy crap, I'm so anxious about this right now. Choke up. That's right, girl. I choke up, and then I'm like, and then I freeze, right? Think about how many times like everybody gets so scared when they go speak in front of people because they're like, oh my God, I'm gonna get so anxious, I'm gonna freeze, right? And then you disempower yourself by doing that, right? You put yourself in a place where now you can't show up as the person that you want to be, and then you affirm this belief for future events, and it stops you from ever doing it again. Or feeling afraid when you want to do it in the future. As opposed to, I'm walking in the front door and I tell myself, right, I train my brain to think differently. I'm excited. I can't wait to do this. I'm going to help somebody today. This is going to help me grow. Even if I fall flat on my face right now, it's going to be, and this is the reframing of failure. Even if I fall flat on my face right now, I'm going to be learning something from this experience, and it's going to teach me how to be better the next time. You live and you learn. And this is how you create a new resilient mindset. This is how you reframe your idea around stress. And so by showing up in places, doing things that scare the crap out of us, and starting to reframe the thoughts that we have around the situation from, I can't do this, this is scary, to I am going to learn from this, this is so exciting, I can't wait for another challenge. Think about and this is why, again, this is why fitness and the mental component helps so much. So if you're not already like in a fitness community, if you're not already exercising and doing this, I really suggest that you incorporate this into your routine, because it teaches you discipline. It teaches you that reframe. It teaches you how to motivate yourself, how to feel powerful, how to feel powerful. That's really what it does. And so we can start to look at, okay, well, if I can do this situation, if I start being open to challenges because I know they're going to help me grow, then I feel more open and motivated to approach new situations in my life. Right? I don't know if any of you are business owners or entrepreneurs, but networking events, those can be very intimidating, right? When I walk into a place and I go, hey, this is an opportunity to meet new people. I can't wait for the connections I'm going to build here. Maybe I might not meet anybody that wants to buy from me or build business with, but what a great opportunity to practice my interpersonal skills, to practice my communication skills. Now I go in there and I'm excited to talk to you, as opposed to I go in and I'm in a place of like lack and scarcity, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to get a client. Oh my God, I need to do this. This is going to, or I'm like scared. I'm like, oh, people are going to judge me or whatever. I'm not going to talk to anybody. It's going to be a waste of my time.
Yeah.
And it's going to make me feel, powerless and helpless. And it's going to prevent me from doing it again in the future. And then if we look at the long game, which is what we should always be looking at, I'm not going to be able to grow my business. I'm not going to be able to build connections. And then we're stuck. And it's going to bleed into other areas of my life. Now I'm going to feel scared to meet new friends because I'm not going to feel like I know how. I'm going to feel like I'm not good at it. Right? So reframing thoughts is very, very important, because our thoughts create our feelings, create our behaviors. So it's super duper important to be checking in with these thoughts and saying, am I really stressed right now? Or do I just need to ask for help even, right? Or do I just feel a little bit confused, right? Start getting curious about the thought processes and feelings that you're having, and stop labeling everything as bad, because we tend to do that. And there's been research that's been done, and I'm going to shift into it to the next part of this now, is don't be afraid to feel your feelings. Don't be afraid to feel your feelings, because in order to create resiliency and learn how to manage stress and uncomfortable feelings, which is like the one thing that most people do not want to do, is you have to be able to feel the feeling. So feeling the feeling means that I have to get comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes, right? And so a lot of us struggle with the ability to even identify our emotions. There's been research that's been done that has shown that most people have an emotional vocabulary of around 3 to 5 emotions. So that's like happy, sad, angry, anxious, annoyed, right? Those are probably my go-tos in the beginning. And so we have a very small emotional vocabulary. So who has kids? You guys have kids, right? What happens when your 2-year-old can't articulate, can't speak and say what they want? They scream.
Mine screams very loud.
They scream very loud. They throw a fucking fit, right? Think about the adult version of throwing a fit.
Not being able to express how you feel.
Not being able to express how you feel. Shutting down in a corner. You should know how I feel, right? You don't know what you did, right? I know some of us ladies probably resonate with that a little bit. Or freaking out on everybody, right? Like, why are you looking at me that way? And like, that's the adult version of a tantrum.
So guilty.
I'm speaking from a place of like, this isn't, you can't make this shit up. Like, this is from experience. This is learning, right? This is awareness. And so when you're able to start identifying new emotions because you've sat in them and you've felt with them and you've got curious about them and you've kind of been in a place where you're not scared of them any longer, and you can let yourself just sit with them and feel them and say, oh, this is what sadness feels like. And a lot of the times this goes back to the beginning where I said, trust yourself. We don't trust ourselves to sit with the emotion because we feel like it's going to become too overwhelming and we won't be able to crawl out of it. It's like we're hanging on the side of this building, right? This like skyscraper, and we're looking down, and if like I let the sadness come in, or if I let the anxiety come up, I'm going to fall off this building and I'm never going to hit the ground. And I'm just going to keep falling and I'm going to keep falling. But you have to trust yourself that you can let go. You can feel it. You can work your way through it. And there's a grounding. There's a support underneath. And we have that. And if this goes back again to the beginning, as if you look on your past, you can see that you've done this before. You've made it through. And that when we try to hide from it, when we try to hide from our feelings, they take control over us. We lose the power to control them when we try to run from them. But when we lean into discomfort, when we lean into that mental strength, that emotional strength, we start to see, oh, I can regulate these emotions. I can learn different ways to move through them. I can feel them, and then I can practice new things that experience a new emotion. I can practice a new way of thinking that helps me shift from feeling sad to feeling grateful. To feeling connected to other people, because a lot of the times what we really need to feel is connected to other people. And if we know how to ask for help and be vulnerable and not be scared of rejection or failure or judgment or criticism, and just lean into the feeling and say, I need connection right now. I need help. I just need you to compassionately listen to me right now. Whatever it might be, then I can move through the feeling, and I can start using my mind to think new thoughts to help me feel how I want to feel, right? And I start to trust myself, and then I'm not scared of those feelings anymore. And that's the great thing that comes from it, is that when I'm not scared of the feelings, I'm willing to put myself in situations that could potentially bring about those feelings. And I don't have to lean into the unhealthy distractions like drugs and alcohol and eating and all of the other crap that we use as Band-Aids on bullet wounds on our heart. And it's a beautiful thing that happens when we can trust ourselves to feel the feelings. And that's what I mean by reframing your struggle into strength. Because your greatest adversities become your greatest strengths. There is purpose in your pain. There is a reason that those feelings are coming about. Each assignment that comes into your life shows up in the form of people or situations. And it's to help you grow and become the person that you need to be. Because if you run from struggle, if you run from adversity, you will never grow and you will never become the person that God intended you to be. And I'm going to bring a little bit of God up in here now because I'm starting to flow and I can't help it. So
Do it. Go for it.
But like, that's really where it's at. Who do you want to be? And again, if you're working out and you stop every time that you get a little bit uncomfortable, I remember when I was doing the glute workout here with y'all. If I would have stopped every time my butt hurt a little bit, I wouldn't have the glutes that I have today, right? If I would have given up.
I wouldn't even be able to do the class.
Exactly. Right. And when you have that level, when you raise a standard for yourself, and that's the next part of this is be compassionate and non-judgmental with yourself, but raise your standards up, right? Because I know when you were teaching that class, you were like, I can't give up. Like, I can't give up. There's people watching me. Like, I have a standard for myself. I know the coach I want to be. So I'm not willing to give up on this shit. And it has to transfer into all areas of our life. Is I know the woman I want to be. So I'm not willing to give up on myself right now. I'm not going to break a commitment to myself right now. Or I'm not going to be mean to myself right now because maybe I didn't do the best I could or I made a poor decision or something happened. I'm going to choose in this moment to be nice to myself because that's what I deserve and my standards are high. And I want you guys to think about that. Like, where are your standards at for yourself? Could they be raised? Because I'll tell you what, when I raised my standards to myself in that moment and made a commitment to myself, and I have all my clients do a commitment contract, and it's like 20 things, and it's like, I commit to be loving and kind to myself. I commit to never give up on myself. And we go down the list, right? And we got like 20 of them, and I have them pull that sucker out when they start falling short on their goals. I'm like, you want to pull your commitment contract out? Because you made promises to yourself. And I'll tell you what, Linz, if you're my friend and you break promises to me, I'm not your fucking friend anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't want that type of circle. So why am I going to do that with myself?
It's a real friend. Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the type of mindset that you have to create that resiliency and know how to deal with adversity and turn that struggle into strength. Where am I at on time? All right. So let's talk about methods. Let's talk about ways that we put this into action, how we create that mental fitness. So the first way that we can do this is training our brain to think the way that we want to think. One practice that is absolutely essential in this process is gratitude. And you're probably wondering where this is coming from. Well, let's go there. So there is a concept, a theory, not even a theory, it's evidence that shows that our brains are like plastic. It's called neuroplasticity, and that we can rewire our brains to think differently. How does this happen? It happens by intentionally thinking new thoughts. So I want you to think about like the woods, right? An overgrown woods, and there's no path to get through there, right? And then all of a sudden you start hacking away at it with a machete. It's going to take some time to build a path, but eventually the more you hack, you can start to move through that path. Well, our neural pathways in our brain are the same thing. And when we've been thinking a certain way for a very long time, we have a pathway that's like 95. It's easy to get down. It's fast. You can, well, if it's not like traffic, like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's the highway. It's the most effective way, right? And our brains like the easiest, softest route. So they're going to go down the path of least resistance. Now, if we haven't really practiced gratitude a lot, if we haven't practiced positive thinking or positive thinking towards ourselves or positive self-talk, it's going to be hard to have an automatic response for that. But when we intentionally practice things like gratitude, which is a really great way to feel joy and grateful and positive vibes, then I can start to build that pathway for that type of thinking. And the more that I do it by practicing it every day, by making a gratitude list, there's other practices that you can do by just being mindful and like in this moment, I'm so grateful to just be alive and be here with other women who care about themselves and improving on themselves, right? And when I do that, it becomes strong and it becomes automatic. So therefore, when I'm in a place of struggle, I'll automatically shift into, oh, I'm so grateful for this because it's teaching me how to deal with difficult people, right? I have that annoying boss at work or whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm so grateful for him because he teaches me how to be a more tolerant person. Like, bro, I would have never thought like that 10 years ago. It came through intentional, deliberate practice of practicing gratitude every day. I've been making a gratitude list almost every single day for probably the past 6 years. And that, yes, and that practice in itself has created such an automatic response for positive thinking and gratitude. It doesn't take effort anymore. Somebody looks at me and they tell me something, and they're like, "How do I find gratitude in this?" And I'm like, "Pop, pop, 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 pop," and I just shoot stuff off, right? Because it's just like riding a bike or doing anything else. It's a practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it. It becomes automatic. If I ask you to shoot off the ABCs to me right now, you could do it without thinking about it very much because you've done it so many freaking times.
Right.
Right. That's the pathway in your brain. You built a pathway for that. It is memory now. It's automatic responses. And we can do this with anything in our life. We can do this with practicing new coping skills. We can do this with positive self-talk, right? Mm-hmm. There was a TED Talk that this woman did, and she had the audience sitting in front of her, and she gave them 3 seconds. And she said, think about something you don't like about yourself. And she counted to 3, and then she asked people to raise their hand if they came up with 2 or more things, and like majority of the audience raised their hand. Then she reversed it, and she said, now tell me something you like about yourself. Tell me your best quality. And then she asked for the audience to raise their hand for who could come up with 2 or more things, and it was like maybe 30% of the audience raised their hand.
Damn.
Because think about how badly we talk to ourselves. Think about, I hear people say all the time, I'm my own worst critic. Yeah, no shit, because you've been training your brain to be your worst critic for your entire life.
Right.
You've been feeding that thought. So the more that you feed new thoughts, the more that you will believe them. It becomes a belief, and you start to act from that place. So my next tool from gratitude is affirmations. Affirmations and also incantations. So this goes along with the fitness thing that I was telling you about, Linz. So when you do affirmations are just basically you affirming things that you want to be or that you want to believe about yourself. So let's say, I'll use my own experience. I always had a really hard time accepting my nose. Like I had a lot of like insecurity. I don't know. You know, we build these things. I had a really insecure belief about my nose. I just thought there was something wrong with it, and I felt really self-conscious about it. And so I had to do things to change that belief and be self-accepting. Like, I accept myself exactly as I am. I am beautiful the way that God made me, right? And I had to do things in my language that affirmed a new belief. And the more that I did that, now I'm completely self-accepting, and I don't have any ill thoughts or self-sabotaging or self-destructive thoughts about the way that I look any longer. And it was because intentional practice, right? I did it, and I did the affirmations, and I still do affirmations to this day, and they'll change from time to time. Incantations are another form of affirmations that we do during movement, right? So we get in like a power state, and they're really great to do. Like when I was talking about when I say those things to myself when I work out, that's a form of an incantation. Like, you're a bad bitch, you got this, right? Like that's like that's an incantation. And you, when you're doing that, your body is in a state of you're releasing so much dopamine and endorphins in your mind that it reinforces it in your memory, because when your mind is releasing dopamine, it reinforces it in your memory. So when you go back to that place, it pops up. So when the dopamine releases, or when you're working out, those thoughts come back. And again, the more you think something, the stronger belief it becomes. I am a bad bitch.
You like that?
I'm a bad bitch.
I had to write that one down, y'all. In all capital letters. All capital.
But that's like for real. That's why people like Cardi B and stuff when they work out, because she's talking from a place of confidence. She's talking from a place of like a power state, and that's really where we're trying to get. We want.
She's the inner voice.
But it's like, it's this beautiful thing that we get to have when we get, like, it's a good thing to want to feel powerful in your own with your own presence. not to want to dominate people, but to feel empowered, to feel powerful. You know, and there's lots of things that you can do to create these incantations if you're not working out. You get in power stances. So standing with your hands on your hips and your legs spread apart, like spreading your body out. Or even there's been studies done by Harvard that show that this create certain chemical releases in the brain that do create a sense of feeling powerful, empowered. And so the standing with your hands like this, putting your, like, you know, when you see like those bosses in the movies with their hands behind their head like this and their feet up on the table, like you feel like a boss ass motherfucker when you're doing that. You know what I mean? Like this is the stuff that you can do. And although it may seem silly, there is neural responses that are happening that are helping retrain your brain to be a badass, right? To be the person that you want to be that powerful individual who can achieve and accomplish anything that's in front of them or anything they set out to do. So the next thing is visualization. So you can't be what you can't see, all right? You cannot be what you cannot see. And in order to start seeing yourself as the person that you want to be when you haven't got there yet, visualization is the tool, baby. So meditation and visualization sometimes get connected, but they're not necessarily the same thing. Visualization is when you take yourself, you sit down, you close your eyes, and you start visualizing the thing that you want to accomplish. You see yourself doing it, right? So the first person to run the 4-minute mile, which they thought was impossible, used this practice, and Olympians and athletes use it today because it is so powerful. And we've come to know that it works. So they believed for a long time, and I wish I could remember this freaking guy's name. I suck at names and like page numbers and stuff like that. But there was a belief for a long time that no one who was it?
Roger Bannister.
Yes, thank you. I knew somebody would know this. So they believed for a long time that you couldn't run a mile in under 4 minutes. So this guy was like, nah, I'm going to, right? Like, I'm going to do it. And he started visualizing himself running over the finish line with the clock being at 3:59. And he did that. And he repeatedly visualized himself doing that and visualized himself doing that. And then he did it. Right? And Michael Phelps is another one. There's tons of athletes who use this practice, but it's also something that a lot of really successful business women and men do as well. They see themselves meeting their goals, and then they meet them. And I can tell you from my own practice that this is extremely useful, and it works. Right? There have been, I remembered when I first started school, like I started school with 9 months sober, single mom, GED, right? And now I'm a master's level social worker. I started school and I would visualize myself walking across the stage. I would visualize myself walking across the stage. I would visualize myself getting the A. I would visualize myself sitting behind the big wooden desk as a therapist. And then I woke up one day and I was like, oh shit, like I remember visualizing this like 5 years ago and here it is, right? And that's the power of this thing, is that you cannot be what you cannot see. When you can see yourself doing something, it becomes easier to achieve. And all of a sudden you end up there. And we can go here, we can go into a lot of law of attraction stuff that I believe behind this, but we're just going to keep it super simple for now. If you want to become something, visualize yourself as that person. If you want to be somewhere, visualize yourself being there, right? I've been doing a lot of visualization of me in Thailand.
Yes.
And then COVID hit. And I was like, damn, maybe this is my chance, right? Like, I'm gonna wear a mask and ride out. But but I didn't. I kept it safe and I social distanced, and it's coming. It's coming. So that brings me into my next thing, is language. All right. So the language that we use is super duper important. When you say things like, I can't. Bullshit. You can't. You're choosing not to, right? But when you say I can't, you create the belief, right? Because again, a thought that's had over and over again becomes a belief. When we say things, we speak them into existence in our mind. We believe them. The same thing when we write things down, we believe them. So I have to start shifting. This was something I learned as a ballerina growing up. Our choreographer we weren't allowed to say can't. You weren't allowed to say can't, and you weren't allowed to not show up to class unless you were bleeding out of your eyeballs. That was what she told us. And so you get a little bit of discipline there, but the word can't is so disempowering, and it makes you, it shuts you down from even trying. And how would you know if you don't try? And if you don't try and you don't fail, you don't learn. Saying things like, I always tell my clients when they're saying things like, I hate this person, or this is so hard. No. We have to change this. It's not so hard. It's a challenge. Challenges you can overcome. When something is so hard, you shut down. You feel weak, right? So we have to start choosing language that helps us feel powerful. We have to start using words intentionally, thinking before we speak, because when you speak things out of your mouth, they become true. You believe them. And so saying things that, my favorite one is, how do people say it? It's like, yeah, I could, but it's good. It's the hard thing. And this is going to be so hard. It's so hard to do that. And I'm like, that's just you fighting for your limitations right now. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we even having these conversations? That's such a cop out. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, it's going to be hard. Life is hard, bro. Welcome. Like, here we are. We got this, and this is where we're at. Like, what are you going to do with it? Are you just going to shut down because it's too hard? Or, yeah, easier. That's it. Easier said than done. Oh my God, that is it's such like a, and listen, like, I'm not saying that you're wrong if you've ever said this, because I'm human and I falter, and I'm sure I say this still now, or I think it, but you have to catch yourself. It's about catching yourself with compassion and changing the thought and saying, like, yeah, like, it is easier said than done, but is that an excuse not to do it? We were made to do hard things. I want to do hard. Here's the level up. Here's the ninja, right? I want to do hard things because it's going to make me stronger. Yes. Affirm that shit, Lindsay. Right. Yes. I want to do hard things because it's making me stronger and more resilient, and I can do hard things because that's what we're made to do, right? And then I can help somebody else do hard things after that. So it's about the way that we think, creating intentional and deliberate practices each day about the way that we think, watching the words that we use, and visualizing ourselves showing up as our highest self. And the last two that I'm going to offer that we've kind of touched on already is exercise and fitness, and being someone who uses meditation as a form of connecting within. Meditation is another thing I do every single morning, and it's a great way to gain awareness. If you're spiritual, there's all types of, there's really is hundreds of ways to meditate. So you can meditate in a way that's spiritual to connect with a higher power or whatever your beliefs are. There's also meditations where you just focus on one subject and try to stay on that. There's breath work. There's the visualizations that we talked about. There's all different kinds of ways to meditate. But be somebody who is a seeker. Be somebody who's intentional about connecting that mind to your body and cultivating awareness and presence in your life today. Because it's very easy to live in the past or live in the future and forget right now. But when we can live in the present, then we can do all the things that I've talked about throughout this entire workshop and begin to make the small decisions every day that create big change in my life and help me become a person who is thriving and successful and feels good about the person that they show up as every day. And I think I'm going to end there. I think that was a pretty good place to end.
That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for showing up.
So you guys, we have a couple more minutes before we end the call, about like 5 minutes. If you have any questions that you would like to ask her, please, if you're on live, just write in the chat. Guys, if you're on Zoom, you can open your mics and ask the questions. Just remember, there are no stupid questions, right? Because like, I'm the type of person that used to be really embarrassed to like raise my hand because like I didn't want to look stupid in front of people, but like I know today that's not the case, and like I raise my hand like if I don't understand something, or just anything in general you guys would like to ask, feel free, because now is the time.
Yep, this is your opportunity to lean into that discomfort.
Ladies, have any questions?
Sure, I have a question.
Okay.
We've got a question.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay, so we're
Where
gonna.
is she? How can I get to her? There we
go.
So my question is, since you have a young daughter, is this something that you think that children understand?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Or do you think they have to just like kind of live life? before they start to understand this concept?
Well, hold on. Okay, so let me re-answer that in a way that's a little bit more intentional. So I think that I know that as children, we have a more open mind. Our subconscious is still wide open under the age of 7, and we're still creating those inner beliefs that we work so hard to change as adults, right? So really young kids, it's easier to teach these things to, and they're kind of already in a place where they're very malleable to understanding it. And I believe, my spiritual belief is that we are born with this information, right? We are born with this way of thinking in our mind. But as parents, it's our job to cultivate that for them. It's our job to nurture that mindset for them. And so teaching them about the things like language, like don't say can't, right? Like, no, we do hard things here. That's what this is about. Teaching them mindfulness and meditation, teaching them that there are no limitations. The only limitations that they have are the ones we set on ourselves, right? And that type of thinking, it registers in their brain. And the more that they hear it, the more it becomes their belief. And now they get to show up as the adults that we wish we could be or are striving to be, right? So I think that I think that children are born with this way of thinking, and then it gets dampered out by society and some of the things that happen to us in childhood. But as loving parents, and I'm sure that you're a very loving parent, also you want to be asking this question right now. It's our job to enhance it, to build it out even more.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple
Awesome questions.
Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying awesome question.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So,
What's your name, babe? Andrea.
Yeah. So before I forget, we'll go back to the kid thing. How do you, because I know kids are like sponges, right? How do you get to be that person that you tell them, you know, don't say can't, don't do this, when you don't believe that yourself, when you're not even there yourself? How do you even know how to teach that?
I think it's a great opportunity for both of you to practice. I think that in that situation that you have the awareness right now of knowing that you want this for your kids and you want this for yourself, that it's something that you guys do together. Hey baby, catch me, tell me when mommy says can't. And then I'm going to catch you when you say can't, because we're going to strive to get that out of our vocabulary, because there are no can'ts. It's only can.
Nice.
Right? And make it a project that you guys work on together, because you're teaching your child vulnerability in that same instance. You're teaching. Yes, put it like a cuss jar, but a can't jar. We don't do can't, right? We do learning how, or yet, right? The power of yet, putting yet at the end of things, and that's like you're building a growth mindset for your child and for you. And you make it a project together, because you go, hey, listen, baby, I don't want you to have to do this when you're 30 or 35, right? I want you to learn now, and you're going to help mommy learn.
Yeah, thanks. So my other question is, my most important question, your speech was amazing. I don't understand, because I also had a heroin addiction, and I'm about to come up on a year, and I still have a lot of struggles with insecurities, with saying can't. I mean, I'm just at the bottom. So for me to even say I can, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna work out, everything that you said, I'm still struggling with even believing. I mean, I just think I'm still not even worth it. How did you get to a place where you believed you're worth it, you know you can do it, get to a place where you don't give up when you work out? Like, I'm not even mentally strong enough, because I don't even believe in that yet. I don't even know how. I do affirmations, I give up after a week. I do this, I'm just to the point where I don't know how to believe in myself like that. I just don't know, because I've never learned that. My family's not like that, so how'd you get to that? Because it takes a lot.
So first of all, I want to thank you for your authenticity and your genuineness, and I want to tell you that I love you because I am you, and I recognize so much of the feeling that you expressed just now, and it comes with work. It comes with work, and it comes with time, and it comes with being gentle and compassionate with yourself. Like right now, even in your sharing, I can hear a lot of self-judgment and a lot of self-doubt coming out. Right? And saying things like, I'm at the bottom. No, baby, you're not at the bottom. You're not. You're working your way up the ladder.
I don't believe it. I say it, and I just like.
That's okay.
I'm scared of success too, like Lindsay. So I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm like, no, oh, you can't do this. You're gonna be successful. You're gonna do it. No, I'm scared. I'm not gonna do it because maybe everyone else does it already. I should do something else, and then I find something else. I'm like, no, I give up. It's just everything it's like, it's a circle of everything.
And you're not alone in this. So many people feel this way. Even the people who look like they have their shit together feel this way quite often. And it's part of our human condition. And what I really want to challenge you to do is that when you're talking about this, because this is how you feel and you should talk about it and you should express it, is to throw a yet at the end of it. I don't believe it yet, right? I don't believe it yet. I'm getting there. It's coming. Using affirmations like this, like I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer. Every day that I make a good decision for myself, I'm getting closer. And there are some days I might fall short, but that doesn't give me a permission slip to quit. Just because I fall short some days and I don't make it through the workout, or I engage in a poor choice, or I have some negative self-talk or fear creeps in, that's not my permission slip to give up for tomorrow. Each day you're doing the best you can. Each day your best looks different. And when you start to tell yourself things that are loving and compassionate and a little bit disciplined, a little bit of tough love, right? Like, no, honey, we ain't giving up today, right? Like, yeah, you might feel sad, but we're going to fucking work through it. And we're going to get to the other side. And tomorrow will be a better day. Even if it's only by this much, it's going to be a better day. And then the day after that, I'm getting stronger and I'm getting stronger and I'm getting stronger. And before you know it, you're going to look back on this day and you're going to go, holy shit, I can't believe how much I've grown.
Yes.
You said you have to work to get there, right? How do I have guidance to work to get there from my sponsor, or how do I?
The fact that you're sitting here right now, you're working to get there. The fact that you showed up in this place in person and took a suggestion, you are on the path, baby. You're there. Like, you're doing it. And you're judging your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 15. You can't do that. You're making progress every single day, because I bet there's tons of people who got invited to this thing today who didn't make the investment in themselves and show up.
That's right.
You showed up.
I'm gonna tell you later how I showed up.
That's okay.
It doesn't matter how you got here.
Matter.
All that matters is that you're here. That's all that matters. So be gentle with yourself.
Yes. Give yourself some damn credit.
That's right.
Listen, this is one of the, I'm going to send you the worksheet. Remind me when I'm done. There's a worksheet that I use with my clients, and it's called Give Yourself Some Damn Credit.
I feel like when I give myself credit, then I'm going to fall off. So I got to stay hard because I'm going to fall off the wagon.
And that belief is keeping you stuck. That belief will keep you stuck. You deserve to give yourself credit, and you have to trust that you can do differently this time. That you're going to choose differently this time. Don't fight for your limitations either.
We'll talk. Guys, anybody else have, let me check the chat really quick.
Oh, there's muscles. Look at, people put muscles in.
We have
too much tea. That was when we knocked the phone over. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that was us.
What's going on over here?
That's it. Okay, so there's no questions. Do you guys have any questions on Zoom before we end?
I think she's raising her hand.
No, Monique's, it's this is just a different call that I invited everybody to do. It was a mindset training. It started at 6, but it's fine. I'll reach out to you after.
I didn't get the message until 7.
It's
okay.
I'll reach out to you after, okay?
For sure. That was my confused face.
It's okay. Anybody else on live have any questions? Yeah, it was just silly stuff. I'm not responding. I don't know.
Somebody said we need a machete and a bulldozer.
I want to say something.
Yes.
Yes, I want to say thank you. Thank you for this amazing training that you usually say. Wow, I can definitely say that you came from the heart. Everything that you spoke today. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Bruno.
What's your name again? I'm sorry.
Katie.
Katie. Awesome. Thank you so much again. All right.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, speak up. Forever hold your peace. Karina, open your mic. ¿Va a decir algo?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty,
All right.
guys. Well, thank you all for joining. If you are a little shy and you didn't want to ask over the live or on Zoom, you can definitely personally send me a message or send Katie a message. Or just reach out to any of us if you guys are ever feeling like you're going through something and maybe need a little bit of help. Like, that's what we're here for at the end of the day. Like, we're here to give back to the community, right? Because like she said, this is our place. This is our place that we brought to the community. It's Rise Above Nutrition, right? Because we rise by lifting others. And that's something that we believe within our core, you know, and this is why we do what we do. So don't ever feel scared or shy or embarrassed to like ask any kind of questions. Like I said before, there are no stupid questions. But I also get it. So we're here if you need. Thank you.
Say thank you, Katie, right? Is that?
Yeah, Katie's her name.
Thank you. And if anybody wants to connect or has some questions that they want to ask in private or any feedback or is looking for some help with any like issues that they're having, please feel free to reach out. You can find me on Facebook at Catherine, Katherine, Townsend, TOWNSEND. And on Instagram, I am positively_beautiful14 or at InPowered. That's IN Powered Coaching. And that's my business page. So you can reach out to me on either of those.
And Bruno, we haven't scheduled the next class. It's something we'll get together and do. And we'll definitely, I don't know, what do you say? We're going to make this happen? Or we're going to do another one at some point?
Yeah, I'm down. Whatever people want. And ask me what you want to know about. Like if there's
certain topics.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to pop on and do like a quick little video or do a Zoom call or whatever. I'm pretty versed in lots of different mindset topics. So if there's anything that you guys are struggling with and want to talk about or want more information on, I'd be more than happy to provide that to you.
Well, thank you. If you guys want to open your mics and just say thank you.
I would like to know how can I get the give yourself a credit?
Oh, I would love to send that to you. Can you give
Yes,
an email?
I have her information.
Okay, all right, yeah, I can email it to you guys.
Yo te lo mando.
Dale.
Yo te lo voy a mandar.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Thank you guys for joining.